So official good morning. Normally I would be up on a podium and asking you all to make your way to your seats and we'd be hushing in excitement, but things look a little bit different a year later. Instead, I'll be asking people to put yourselves on mute and we'll be doing this all virtually. So if you haven't already, and if it wasn't automated when you came in, you can put yourselves on mute. And then we'll be calling on a few different people throughout this morning's session. So we want to make sure that we can hear them accordingly. In addition, if you're having troubles with the screen and seeing who you want to see, you can go up to the view section on the top. You should be able to click it and you can pin to the speaker view, and then that will highlight who is speaking at that time. So we have an exciting agenda for today's first ever virtual Women in Business event. And we're going to get started as we want to make sure we can fit everything into the time slot we've allotted this morning. Welcome to our Women in Business celebration. My name is Gabrielle Sarlo, and I'm a member of the Sault Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors and sit as treasurer. On behalf of the Chamber of Commerce and the Women in Business sponsors, TD Bank Group, Bell, OLG, Sault College, YMCA, Canadian Associate of Petroleum Producers, and Cavanna Fine Photography, we want to thank you for taking the time from your busy schedules to join us here this morning. I'm going to pass things off to Chamber Board Member and the 2019 Athena Recipient Award winner, Karen Bird, to lead us with the acknowledgement of the traditional and shared territory. Karen?
Good morning. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Perfect. Animkias Quaindish Nakazmak Wadodem Bauting Don Jabach Migwach Nungo Chimigwach Anishnabe Quaok Jalwe Meshnung. My name is Little Thunder Woman from the Bear Clan, and I'm from Batchewana First Nation. I'm so happy to be doing this morning, and I ask that Creator look down and bless us all. As many of you know from living in the area, we are on the traditional territory of Batchewana First Nation and Garden River First Nation, and I just wanted to give thanks for the sharing of the land that we have together and coming together in events like this where we can all work towards the mutual benefit of everybody that's in the territory. Miigwech.
Great, thank you, Karen. So continuing on, we're going to acknowledge that Sault Ste. Marie is home to many talented and knowledgeable women of vision. Continuing with recent tradition, we have another great panel of empowering local women who have agreed to share their experiences and stories with all of us here today. What's unique about this year's panel is they have varied experiences, careers, and sectors that these women represent. We look forward to hearing each one speak to the lessons they've learned in balancing career and personal goals and commitments, especially as it relates to the challenges presented in this last year of the pandemic. If you'd like to share comments or have questions throughout at any point of today's event, you can do so by using the chat box feature. I've seen things pop up already, so that's great. Everyone is knowledgeable about Zoom at this point of the year. So you can use that feature, and if we have enough time at the end of the panel, we will be able to communicate those to the panelists and answer those questions. Before we get started, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the following special guests in attendance. We have Sault Ste. Marie Chamber of Commerce board members, Marie DeValcio, Karen Bird, Trish Porco, Michael Stone, and Derek Jackson. We have our chamber staff, Bob Burns, Don Ferguson, and Rory Ring, and past Athena Award recipients, Jody Rebick, Lana Fregamini, Marnie Stone, and Karen Bird, as we already noted. If I missed anyone, I apologize, and we welcome you here. So once again, as you are quite familiar, this year in true celebration of women, women in business, and diversity, we've chosen to host this event in conjunction with International Women's Day. Each year on International Women's Day, women around the world celebrate the social, economic, cultural, and political achievement of women, and they choose a theme each year to focus on. This year's campaign theme is Choose to Challenge. This year, as we've noted, it's even more important than ever to celebrate the achievements of women, as this pandemic has put at risk the progress that's been made over the past decades. It's this statistically proven that women have been impacted more severely than men throughout the pandemic, whether it be through job loss, managing homeschooling, work from home scenarios, and unfortunately domestic violence. It's in the spirit of ensuring that this progress is not lost that we must champion this cause and choose to challenge. At this time, I'm going to invite Susan George of the Sault Ste. Marie Innovation Center to provide some context to this year's International Women's Day theme. Susan?
Thanks, Gabrielle. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you.
Okay. Good morning. My name is Susan George, and I'm a program manager and technology lead at the Sault Ste. Marie Innovation Center. I'm thrilled to be here with you today to celebrate women in business in recognition of International Women's Day. Thank you to the Chamber for asking me to present this year's campaign theme for International Women's Day, which, as Gabrielle mentioned, is Choose to Challenge. So a challenged world is an alert world. Individually, we're all responsible for our own thoughts and actions all day, every day. We can all choose to challenge and call out gender bias and inequality. We can all choose to seek out and celebrate women's achievements. Collectively, we can all help create an inclusive world. From challenge comes change, so let's all choose to challenge. This Global Day celebrates the social, economic, cultural, and political achievements of women and issues a call to action for accelerating women's equality. Almost every news outlet has reported that women across the globe have disproportionately been impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. It has been said that it takes time to dismantle the systemic barriers that make women more vulnerable, and their leadership climb is so much steeper. Clearly, it'll take more than just time alone. It takes a concentrated effort on all of us within our organizations, within our community, to have the courage to act to remove those barriers. The need for affordable daycare has never been more obvious. Too many women had to make the difficult choice to leave the workforce in order to care for their children. My personal hope is that COVID-19 raised the awareness for the need for women in tech. Technology has always been a part of our daily life, but this past year has created opportunities for women to choose a career in technology. There's no sector that hasn't recognized or experienced the need for tech, including education, healthcare, retail, gaming, and the list goes on. Each one of these sectors needs a woman's perspective as part of their technology development and adoption. In recognition of the day, I encourage all the women in this virtual room who are pioneers to lead with your voice, be an advocate, help other women mentor them, challenge them, and start to change the conversation. To all working women, seek out women leaders, ask for advice, listen to their stories. I think you'll find there are many commonalities and similar experiences. Take the opportunity to learn from those who have been down the road before. It's such a great opportunity to get real and practical advice, as well as feel validated that you're not alone. As I reflect on my own career, especially as I am nearing retirement, I remember the early years and how inadequate I felt. My small piece of wisdom is to quiet those voices in your head that say you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, or you're not a strategic thinker, or you shouldn't apply for that job because you only have 6 out of the 10 required qualifications. We're more likely to experience those negative thoughts if we don't see examples of people who look like us or share our backgrounds, who are clearly succeeding in their field. There's a quote that I recently read, and I think it reflects my thoughts on the subject. It's from Serena Williams, who said, "Every woman's success should be an inspiration to another. We're strongest when we cheer each other on." So please join me and raise your hand high to show you're in. Choose to challenge. Thank you, and happy International Women's Day.
Excellent. Thank you, Susan. So today we not only celebrate women in business and International Women's Day, we will also celebrate women in leadership by presenting the prestigious and internationally recognized Athena Leadership Award. A special thank you to Sault College for sponsoring the award again this year. Today marks the 20th annual Chamber of Commerce Women in Business event, and I think that's great. This event continues to grow year after year, and today we are pleased to have approximately 150 business professionals, both men and women, coming together to celebrate the accomplishments and achievements of women making an impact in our community. To the men that have attended this event, thank you for showing your support for the advancement of diversity and in particular, these women today. There's so many reasons for the ongoing success of this event. You are valued guests who find the time in hectic schedules and busy days to recognize women and diversity in your community, and our generous sponsors who provide us with much needed support to ensure this event grows year after year. Without your attendance and sponsor partnerships of various capacities, success would be more difficult to achieve. So at this time, we'd like to call on Melanie Milton, Area Manager of TD Business Banking, to say a few words. Melanie.
Thank you, Gabrielle. It is my distinct honor to be here today on behalf of TD Bank Group. Thank you to the Chamber of Commerce, Sault Ste. Marie, for putting together this event and for gathering us here to recognize this important conversation around women in business. It is particularly important given today's significance. Each year since 1911, this day represents an opportunity to celebrate the achievements of women and to continue our efforts in championing for a greater gender equality. As Sue had mentioned in her previous comments, this last year has brought on unique challenges for women who are often caregivers to parents or children or both, balancing the need to provide support, leadership, security, and self-care for our loved ones, our friends, neighbors, and for ourselves. I am proud to work for TD, an organization that promotes flexibility and has initiatives in place to support our employees as they balance their responsibilities at work, at home, and in the community. With so many choices being made for us through the pandemic, it is so important to have women at the decision-making tables. At TD, we choose to challenge how we support these disproportionately affected by COVID-19. Through organizations like the Chamber of Commerce in Sault Ste. Marie and the business leaders attending today, we hope to work together to support an inclusive recovery. A special thank you to our organizers through the Chamber today for adapting and offering this virtual event. It's not easy. I know all of us having to adapt with working from home have had our technology issues, so we really do appreciate the efforts and really does speak to the importance of today. So thank you all for being present today and for choosing to challenge. Happy International Women's Day.
Thank you, Melanie. So we're going to actually take a quick pause right now before we jump into our panel, and we're going to draw for a gift basket that's been generously provided by the partners of IDA Queenstown Sweet Greetings. So we'll be doing this through a random selector app. And I'm not 100% sure how this is going to happen. So let's see here. So, Rory, do you mind stepping in and possibly letting me know how this random app is going to generate the name and who I should announce?
That's okay. I've already run the random app, and the recipient is Jody Rebick.
Congratulations. So Jody, we will be in touch with you to be able to provide you details on that gift. Congratulations. So on behalf of the Sault Chamber of Commerce, we'd like to thank all of our sponsors and contributors for their part in making today's event possible. It's a pleasure now to introduce this year's panel moderator, a person who is no stranger to this event or our community. We'd like to welcome Jasmine Rowe-Lee. Many of you know today's moderator as one of the faces of local online media. She's a talented journalist and local media personality. And of course, we all know her from the incredibly popular Sault Today series, Random Acts of Kindness, where she showcases some of the amazing and inspiring individuals in our community. We are very pleased to have Jasmine lead our panel discussion today. Jasmine is the Director of Marketing and Communications for Village Media. She has been working in the realm of communication, media, and public relations across Canada for over a decade. Her various roles in the broadcast industry include work as a news anchor, reporter, host, producer, and news writer for television, internet, and radio. And currently, she has a second full-time job as being a mother of two. Thank you, Jasmine, once again for joining us. I'm going to pass things on to you.
Thank you for the kind introduction, Gabrielle. I am so glad to be back moderating this annual event again. Well, it's not how I'm sure any of us were hoping to gather for this event. As mentioned a couple times now, we have all gotten very good at adapting. So we'll do the best that we can with this new format. This event is always so interesting for me because of the inspiring and successful local women that we get to hear from. And today I'm even more so looking forward to it because I have had the great pleasure of meeting and knowing each of the phenomenal women on the panel today. So let's get right into it, and I'll begin the introductions of our panel members. First up, we have Dr. Laura Stone, who is an emergency physician at Sault Ste Hospital. She completed her emergency medicine training at the University of Toronto, where she won the Canadian Association of Emergency Physicians Resident Leadership Award. Laura had worked at Credit Valley Hospital in Mississauga until 2016, when she and her husband made the decision to return back to their hometown here in Sault Ste. Marie, to be close to family, raise their two boys, and embrace the wonderful work-life balance that the Soo has to offer. And fun fact, Laura and I grew up together, so it's extra fun for me to be able to connect and hear about her professional experiences here today. Next, we have Ozma Vesna. Ozma has served as president and vice chancellor of Algoma University since October 2017, bringing with her more than 20 years of leadership experience in education. During her presidency, Algoma University has experienced record enrollment growth, new academic and research program development, and in partnership with key stakeholders, secured multi-million-dollar investments to support new capital infrastructure and strategic institutional priorities. She is known for championing initiatives supporting mental health and addictions and equity, diversity, and inclusion, both at the university and within the community at large. Being on the site of the former Shinwalk Indian Residential School has impressed upon her the importance of working in partnership to advance the university's leadership and commitments to truth and reconciliation, and the special mission to cultivate cross-cultural learning in a safe, welcoming, and inclusive environment. As a lifelong resident of Northern Ontario and having completed undergraduate studies at Lakehead University and a graduate degree at Nipissing, Ozma has a strong understanding of the opportunities, challenges, and priorities of the region. She has been an active member of the Sault Ste. Marie Innovation Centre, the Northern Policy Institute, the Northern Ontario Research Development, Ideas and Knowledge, and the Sault Ste. Marie Economic Development Corporation. She is a champion for regional economic development, especially as it relates to the role of the university sector plays as a key economic innovation driver and leader of social and cultural change. And that is a mouthful because she's accomplished so much, it takes a long time to get through that whole bio. Gail O'Connor is an entrepreneur. She has owned the Voyageurs Lodge and Cookhouse in Batchewana Bay with her husband, Frank, since 2003. She brought 14 years of experience in operations management and business administration, along with a strong commitment to customer service excellence to the company. The Voyageurs Lodge has grown from a 25-seat restaurant and 8-unit motel into a 56-seat restaurant and 11-unit motel with the addition of a general store, gas station, and agency liquor store. In 2016, Gail and Frank expanded into the gift business with the opening of River Rock Gifts. Gail's constant commitment to making things better continues to drive her forward and keeping her business fresh. Erica Hogan is the CEO of Hogan's Homestead, the 5th largest maple production company in Ontario. And together with her husband, Spencer, they have recently been named youngest, largest maple producers in Canada. She is an advocate for pregnancy and infant loss, most recently creating the Piper Project, which benefits the Sault Ste. Hospital Foundation. Erica has been an advocate for organ and tissue donation, raising awareness and funds since becoming a live liver organ donor in 2013. Erica has received multiple accolades for her achievements and contributions. She is a strong proponent of female entrepreneurs succeeding in male-driven industries and embraces opportunities to share her knowledge and skills with other like-minded women. I can't wait to hear from all of these amazing women. Let's hop right into the questions provided by the chamber. And if any of you at home have any questions, you can just add it into the chat box as well, and someone will give me a heads up to jump in and ask your question. So I'll start with Dr. Stone. Laura, this time last year must have been an incredibly stressful time for you. As an emergency physician, you were going to work when the city and the world really was shutting down and only essential workers were out in the workforce and essential services were being provided. You also have 2 little boys at home with cystic fibrosis. You must have obviously been very worried about bringing COVID home to them, which only adds to your stress level. How did you get through this time last year?
Thank you, Jasmine, and thanks everyone for having me today. I'm so honored to be a part of this event and see so many familiar faces. So yes, as you say, last year, this time was a pretty crazy time. We were seeing what was happening in Italy and in New York City with this surge of COVID patients and their hospitals and ICUs being overwhelmed. And we fully thought that we were about 2 weeks behind New York City. So we thought we were going to be hit by this surge of patients. And then, as you say, I've got 2 little guys at home. They're 2 and 4 with cystic fibrosis. And so that weighed on the back of our minds. I was terrified, of course, of bringing this home to my family. I would say I certainly wasn't alone in this regard. I think all frontline workers were terrified of bringing this home, and you know, everybody has someone at home who's more susceptible. So it was something we all shared. So, you know, when I think back about kind of how I coped, I think one of the ways I coped was by, sorry, I'm getting Cole's notes from my hubby here. I think one of the ways I coped was by getting involved. You know, in the hospital planning. I think on this International Women's Day, you know, we as women, when we feel like our families or our loved ones are potentially in trouble or in danger, you know, we act. And I think that's, you know, something that we should celebrate about women. We have this drive to protect our loved ones. And so I think that helped me kind of get involved in the hospital. So we split up the emerge into hot and cold areas, and we set up a surge tent outside for this surge of patients, which fortunately didn't come. And I got involved in making some educational videos, again, with many other people in the hospital that helped train people on how to intubate and run resuscitations in a safe way, because those are very high risk procedures where you might get COVID. And then finally, one thing I did, which was very out of my comfort zone, was a little blurb on Sault Today. Jasmine, you make it look easy. It is not. And again, I was just driven to do this. I had this realization that if we are hit with a surge of patients in the Sault, you know, all the preparation that we can do, it will be too late at that point. People will die. We need to prevent the surge. And so as March break ended, and people were coming home from March break, you know, I thought we have to get this message out for people to stay home and not spread COVID around our community. And so again, you know, I think I was surprised. I wasn't as worried about what people might think if I did that. It was that, I think, instinct we have as women, that drive just to protect our families. I felt ultimately that was kind of what I needed to do to keep our community safe and ultimately keep my little guys safe at home. So.
It's interesting you mentioned the video too, Laura. That has ended up being one of the most watched videos ever on Sault Today.
Oh.
Yeah, it has like tens of thousands of views, and it was something that had a lot of feedback from the community, because I think you did something really important with that, where you stepped up and you spoke about what it means for us locally. So at that time, we were hearing a lot about what it meant internationally and what it meant across the country and the province, but nobody in Sault Ste. Marie had, as a health professional, approached us and said, listen, this is what this means. And I think what you did was really important. And like you said, it probably saved a lot of lives, because people understood that it could come here and we could be next. So yeah, that video was very impactful. Thank you for your answer. Ozma, you're next. Can you share with us what you as a leader have focused on in terms of supporting Algoma youth through this pandemic?
Sure. And good morning, everyone. It's just wonderful to be with everyone and to be among colleagues and friends, and to hear the messages. I'm already so inspired just from the first 4 or 5 speakers. Today is a pretty special day because we get to really think about what it means to be a woman in a leadership role. And so when I was reflecting on how I would answer this question, I thought, what was it that we did at Algoma that was maybe a little unique or different that we could share with women today. And when the pandemic hit, I don't think any of us really understood the magnitude of what we were dealing with, but we knew it was serious, right? We knew that China had been going through an incredible experience, but I don't think any of us really believed that it was going to be that bad here in Canada or in Northern Ontario for that matter. And so I remember talking with our team and saying, you know, we're going to have to really think through this. We had everybody working from home at the time. I remember having to make that decision on Friday, the 13th, March 13th, that we would be closing all of our campuses. And when I think back to the decision making at that time and how fast it was and how rapid it was, and how serious every decision felt, and how courageous we had to be as leaders as we were making these decisions, and how much confidence we had to actually show as we were making some of these decisions, because people were scared and they were trying to figure out what was this going to mean for them. Would they be successful in their studies if they were students? Were they going to have jobs if they were staff? Faculty trying to figure out, how am I going to do this from home? I remember stories of early on of people trying to manage children and leadership roles and teaching roles and all kinds of things that were, I remember people talking about fear of layoffs, you know, whether it was them or their husbands or wives or whomever. And so there was a lot of anxiety. And so we sat down as a leadership team, and I remember just sort of really reflecting on, okay, look, you've got 20 years of leadership experience. You've trained with some of the best mentors out there. You've been taught how to lead, and now you really need to figure out what you're going to do here and how are you going to take care of people. So I went to the elders in our community who have so much wisdom. And I said to them, you know what? People are afraid. They're scared. I need some help. I need to think through this at a really high level around how to manage the pandemic at the university, but also, you know, as we're thinking about leadership in the community. And we did ceremony together and we talked. And what came to me was community. And in threatening times, in times where people are hurting, in times where we're in such an unknown, whether it's a world war, whether it's a famine, whether it's disease, what doesn't matter what it is. When you're in a world pandemic, community matters. So I thought about that and had lots of sleepless nights thinking about, okay, what does that mean then if we're going to focus on community through this pandemic, and recognize that this is a situation that none of us have experienced before. How are we going to look after our people who have been entrusted to us, people who are looking to us to lead? And so we took a pretty courageous move, I would say, as a team. Everything was done in team. I continued to go to people and ask questions, and we decided to redo our entire budget. So as you know, Algoma has been on quite a transformational change journey. We had gotten out of fiscal difficulty, and this was the year we were going to really move some things forward. We had some construction projects underway. A $2 million expansion we were planning to do in our computer science lab, a number of other renovations that we were doing, and some really exciting moves that we were going to be making on all three of our campuses. And I remember the day perfectly. I said to our team, we can't do any of this. We have to look after our people. And they looked at me to try to understand what was I saying when I said that. And I said, we're going to redo our whole budget entirely from top to bottom. And I said, here's the challenge. Can we build a budget that ensures no layoffs? And it ensures that every student in our programming has what they need to be successful, from an online virtual presence to some fiscal help throughout the pandemic. We saw a lot of our students in crisis. Many of them had lost jobs overnight. They had no time to plan. And so, we challenged with that question, can we do it? And then I pretty much said, we're going to do this. And I remember our team looking at me, and I think at first they thought I had lost my mind. And so we had to work through a little bit of that. But I said, I want us to use innovation. I want us to use problem solving. And I want us to really think deeply about what can we put off for a year, 2 years, and how can we do this? And so they did. And they came back with a budget that did exactly that. So we have not laid anybody off through the pandemic. We've given thousands of dollars to our international students to help them with their financial challenges. We had a team at the university that led a fundraising effort that saw up to $500 for every student just to get them through the emergency, which was a month of rent and a month of food, so they could try to reorganize themselves. And yeah, we put a lot of projects off, and we explained to the community, and I don't think any of us understood the magnitude of what we were talking about, but we said, you know what, we're going to cancel, we're going to take all that money out that we would do travel with, that we would be doing professional development with, anything that doesn't need to be in our budget this year. We're going to take it out, and we're going to put it towards our people, students and employees. And at the time, I think I was scared out of my mind that this was going to backfire and I was going to have a deficit of millions and millions of dollars. And we haven't. And what I would share with you is the things that happened as a result of that decision on that day, where we as a group decided that's how we were going to approach this pandemic. It's been incredible because funds have come from other places. So we actually didn't end up putting any of those projects on hold. They all went forward in different ways. The community, I'd say FedNor, NOHFC, some of the other funders could see the importance of what we were trying to do, and they came forward. Obviously, we did a lot of work in proposal writing and things like that, but I never would have imagined when we made that decision that we would see our way through this successfully and actually come out probably further ahead than we would have had we gone the traditional route. So that's really my response to the question. And I guess for leaders and aspiring leaders in the room is every leadership position that you take on builds your leadership capacity and your skill set. And as you get into these kinds of more challenging situations, that diversity on your team matters. Had I been in the same boat 3 years ago or 4 years ago, I wouldn't have had the same problem-solving ability. But because we had a team of good mix of women and men, we had diversity on our team, we trusted our people, we were able to come up with some really innovative solutions to some very complex questions. And yeah, so I think I'll leave it at that.
So if you were able to have a 5-second chat with March 2020 you, would it be to follow your instincts with it and listen to the people around you? Would that be what you would tell yourself, or what would you say?
Yeah, trust and have courage that what you think as a woman leader, even though you may have a lot of naysayers and a lot of people saying, what the heck are you thinking? This is not financially sound. This is not good thinking from a business management model. This is not what the textbooks say. Go for it. If you believe that it can help your people and your organization, dare to be different. And I think it's choose to challenge, right? But do it well and have all of those resources around you that you know can help you, right? And go to them and ask them questions as you're trying to figure out and navigate your way through.
Awesome. Thank you. Gail, I have you up next. And my question is, how has the business landscape changed over the years? And obviously, especially in the last year, how has that changed? And with that, has your role changed with the changes in the business?
Thank you, Jasmine, and thank you everyone for inviting me to join today. Is everyone hearing me okay? Okay. First of all, how has it changed? I feel that our business especially is just a perpetual state of change. And I've always been someone to thrive and enjoy change. But over the last year, of course, my enjoyment in change was put to a test. I think that one of the largest changes for us in our industry has been the connection that we have now with our customers because of social media. And we've always appreciated that customer service was what would drive your organization. And now the element of feedback from our customers drives our organization. Because of the pandemic over the last year, with the connection to the customers, we knew that we had to move forward very carefully in how we were going to handle it in the restaurant, in the general store, and all the aspects, housekeeping in our motel units. We knew that our customers were going to be watching us carefully. And over and above all, we had to make sure that our employees were safe, our team members were safe, and our customers were safe and felt safe when they were coming to enjoy the services of our organization. I think my role when we first started out in the business was very focused on particular skills and tasks on a day-to-day basis, but we were lucky this year that it was year 18 and not year 1. So I was able to step back and look at things from a macro point of view and support team members and support the organization as a whole rather than being focused on one particular role. I found this year very hard as from a human resource standpoint because employees needed leadership this year in all aspects. Sometimes it was just coaching on job skills, but sometimes it was emotional support because they weren't dealing with the pandemic as easily as what they might have thought they could. And so as far as leadership, I think this year was a tremendous growth opportunity for me as a leader in my organization, but I also think it gave me a better understanding of what the whole area of human resource support means. And I think it's going to make me a stronger leader moving forward.
And what do you have planned for the year coming up? So you've just survived a year of big changes. What do you see ahead of you for 2021?
Well, I was hoping when we closed in October 2020 that was going to be the end of it. And we could go back to whatever the new normal was going to be. But now I'm not really making any hard plans. We're going to move forward kind of opening as we closed last year. The good news is most of the team are on board and ready to roll again, even if we're under the same operating conditions. And we're just going to continue to be flexible and do what we need to do to move forward.
That is solid advice, a fluid plan for 2021. That's probably what we all need to have. Thank you, Gail.
You're welcome.
Erica, you have always had an entrepreneurial perspective. What drew you to the realm of entrepreneurship, and why do you think it's such an important space for women to be in?
Oh, that's a good question. Good morning, everyone. Hopefully everyone can hear me well. I think personally, I've had an entrepreneurial perspective in life just because I grew up with family and business, not necessarily being a part of a family business, but just seeing the atmosphere of all that entails with being an entrepreneur. But oh, Jasmine, you always give me the hard questions. I gotta tell you that. But basically, just what I kind of wrote in my notes was, anyone can be an entrepreneur, anyone in any profession, or have the leadership role, even if they're not an entrepreneur, you know, if they're leading a company or leading an organization. But trying to word this properly, like I said, this was my one question. I was like, how am I going to answer this properly? Because I believe that every woman has the opportunity to drive and have strength and resilience in any type of leadership role. So when you ask me what's the importance, it's just being resilient, having strength and determination. And I think it was said already once before by another fantastic woman on our panel, is you have to trust your instinct. You need to go for it.
And what is your favorite part of being an entrepreneur?
My favorite part is being able to challenge myself every single day. I have the opportunity to not only make a difference in a male-driven industry, but make a difference in my life, so I can show my daughter that you can really make a wave on the littlest standpoint. And being an entrepreneur, I have the ability and the opportunity to network with amazing women in our community and on a global spectrum to create new ideas, to create a new wave, a new generation, and continue to grow what being an entrepreneur means.
I love that. Thank you. Laura, how is it that you manage your personal, family life, and professional life with the demands of a high-intensity environment at home or work, which at times may go from quiet to excessive demand on you, emotionally, physically, and intellectually?
Yes, managing work and home is difficult. I know you know Jasmine. Every woman knows here. Jasmine and I are in the same boat. We have young boys at home, but I think all parents are feeling this right now. But especially women are feeling these excessive demands on us, you know, as you say, physically, emotionally, intellectually. I think women, we try to be all things to all people. We're trying to be great moms and great spouses and great at our jobs and great friends and colleagues. I think we set really high expectations for ourselves as to, you know, what we need to do in these roles. And then we feel guilty when we're not, you know, meeting our own expectations that we've set. So thinking about how I manage in my own life, you know, I can think of times in my life when I feel like I'm doing great. You know, I'm a great mom and I've got work under control and all my extra things are going well. And then there's times when I do not feel like I'm doing great and I feel overwhelmed by everything I have to do, and I feel stressed and anxious, and I feel guilty that I'm either not being a good mom or not doing what I should at work. And thinking about those kind of two situations and what's different between them, the only thing that's different really is me. And although I think it does sound cliche, I find it to be true over and over again. You know, I am better at managing all aspects of my life when I first take the time to take care of myself. And I think by filling ourselves up, we are then so much better able to take care of everybody else around us. So I think that means different things for different people. For me, that means trying to get enough sleep, which can sometimes be challenging with shift work and working late. Fortunately, my hubby lets me sleep in every now and then. Thank you, Mike. It means getting exercise. That's very important, primarily because it helps me sleep better. And it's an outlet for stress and anxiety. And I'm stronger. You know, the physical demands on us as women are huge. You know, my back doesn't hurt if I'm actually, you know, in somewhat of an exercise routine. And then taking some time for the mental, spiritual, emotional component, I think is really important. I've found a big challenge during COVID has been the ability to turn my mind off and turn my brain off. Usually we get breaks. We can take a weekend trip and it gives us a bit of a break. And we haven't had that at all in the past year. And so I've found really mindfulness and meditation has been huge in giving me some tools in order to be able to kind of turn my brain off a little bit. So those are things that I have done. And I would just also, you know, as a quick caveat, say, I'm not doing this all the time. There's times I get 4 hours of sleep and no exercise and you drink a lot of coffee and soldier on. But two, I think, like, I work shift work, and although there's pros and cons of shift work, I think in some ways, one of the reasons I chose emergency medicine was because I have flexible work hours, and it allows me to maintain this a bit of a work-life balance, which is so important to me. And I think an interesting conversation that's come out of COVID, and as Susan mentioned, hopefully we're going to continue with good things that have come out of COVID, is this conversation about flexible work hours, especially for women. And so, you know, I'm sure if people are sitting there thinking, oh, well, that's great that you get exercise. I have no time for exercise. You know, maybe trying to get some flexible work hours into your workplace would be something that would be helpful. And I hope that will really help women going forward continue to try to get some work-life balance, because it is so important.
Yeah, that's some really great advice. My favorite saying on the not so great days is, today, okay was good enough.
Mm-hmm.
Tomorrow I'll try to be a superstar again, but today, okay, we'll have to do. So
Yep,
just
absolutely
that sometimes.
Yep.
Okay. Ozma, we talked a lot about your leadership throughout the past year, but can you tell me what you think your leadership will look like now into 2021?
Sure. Thanks, Jasmine. Couple of areas that really thinking a lot about as we move into 21-22, that fiscal year. And I think one of the things that's keeping me up at night is the COVID fatigue. I don't know if that's, you know, it's a term that everybody's using. What does that actually mean? And really trying to understand as we position to start slowly bringing our students and our workforce back to campus. How do we manage this thing called COVID fatigue and some of the mental health challenges that we know many of our students and employees have gone through and are experiencing right now? I have never seen such anxiety in our communities before, and I think it's a real issue that we have to think deeply about. When I've been working with our union groups in the last few weeks and just really asking them to posing that question to them, can you help me understand, if we were to put a focus now on a wellness strategy, what are people asking for? And what they're telling me at this point, and they're doing a little bit more work on it for us, is that people crave that one-on-one, that time together. There's a lot of fatigue in terms of the technology, and while we've leaned on it, I think people are really craving the relationships in that, you know, just the coffee together, that chat that happens in the hallway, getting together informally to talk or plan. So that seems to be a really big challenge, and we can't do that right now, right? We know that we still need to keep our distance, and with, you know, some of the different strains that are coming into the province now, that it's imperative that we continue to be patient. But are there ways that we can still give people a little bit more in terms of what they're looking for? So that's what's happening in the university right now as we move forward. Lots of other things. I'm thinking deeply about access to education. I really feel education is a big equalizer. And there are a lot of people that are very, very capable of achieving a higher education, whether it's college or university or a combination of both, that just simply don't have access to it because of the cost, because of the distance, because of their life circumstances. So I'm really trying to think about what Algoma could do to utilize what we've learned about technology to bring education into rural, remote, more isolated communities, but also to service people like the mother that has 2 children at home and can't necessarily make it to campus or relocate. Those that have ability but maybe can't afford. So these are big questions that I'm contemplating as we move into 2021-22. From a community leadership perspective, all about the opioid and addictions crisis that we're facing right now. And for me, I think I've been blessed to work at Algoma University because it's given me a much bigger appreciation of the impact of things like the residential school experience on First Nations and Indigenous people in this country, but also what that has done for Indigenous and non-Indigenous people. And I believe, it's my personal belief, that a lot of what we're dealing with right now, this addictions crisis, is because we've got to deal with some of these outstanding issues that were created not by me, but certainly as a leader. I think, you know, we've got some big challenges that as leaders, as women leaders, I think we look at things differently, right? And I think it needs a different approach. Well, we do need the medical, absolutely. We need some of the medications and things like that. I think, again, we have to really rethink our views around what a community is. And when we have people that are hurting in our community, we got to problem solve, and we've got to find our way forward. And it's not about one group saying this is it, right? There are so many underlying issues that are really root causes, deep root causes to why so many people are struggling today in our communities. And we got to get down to the root cause and start to really think deeply about a holistic community strategy. People have lost their way. And I'm not talking about just Indigenous people. People have lost their way. We are so focused right now on economy, financial gains, getting ahead in this world. Maybe it's my age, but as I go into my 50s, I think, whoa, we need to be thinking in new and different ways. The way we've been thinking about, I mean, there is no reason in my mind today that we need to have homeless people on our streets in this country. It is absolutely absurd to me. There is no reason that if we can get oil thousands and thousands and thousands of miles in a pipeline, that we can't get fresh water to every single community in our country. These are things that are just mind-boggling. And I do think, and you know, you've got a picture of graduates in my background for a reason today. They're our future. They're the change makers. And as leaders, we have to ensure that our young people have what it's going to take to drive policy change and to drive real, deep, meaningful change. We can do things differently, and I believe that we're going to get there. And I think it's this diversity of leadership that's going to make a huge difference as we move forward. So that's what I'm thinking about in 2021.
Those are some great thoughts. And in my opinion, I think the pandemic has really amplified and shone a spotlight on some of the issues that you're talking about. So now is the time that we can take a positive out of this whole thing and act on it. And we've seen how bad it has gotten. So it's our opportunity to affect some change. Thanks, Ozma. Okay, we only have a couple minutes left, but I really want to get to one question that I wanted to ask all of the panelists. So I'll start with you, Gail. Can you tell me about a time that you chose to challenge, to go with our theme for the day?
I would think one of the major times where that was prevalent for us was when we were working on projects that were construction related or that involved coordination of engineers or anything around the business. It was always assumed that Frank was going to take the lead on those types of projects, but the dynamic of how we split up the work, I'm usually the one that takes the lead on those types of things, and he worries about the gas in the ground and the cars pulling onto the lot. So it was a big struggle for me to coordinate projects like that in the onset when we started in 2003 to about 2010. But over the last few years, I'm excited to say that coordination of those types of things, male contractors, male construction workers are more open to working alongside women on those projects. And with younger employees coming on in those contractor jobs, they don't know it any other way now. So that's encouraging to me as a female entrepreneur to know that I can see the change and it's moving in the right direction.
I love that. Thanks for sharing, Gail. Erica, can you let me know a time that you chose to challenge? Oh, she's coming.
I'm sorry, guys, I'm not tech savvy and I got muted. Absolutely, and very similar to Gail's experience is I'm in a male-driven industry. When you're a woman in an industry where the wives of a maple production are just the wives, you see them selling the product and everything, you never get looked at as a professional business owner. You get looked at, like I said, the wife. And my husband and I have been together for 11 years, so he knows how feisty I can be. And I love when people think that I am just the one who bottles up the syrup and says, have a good day. And in many instances, and still to this day, people I'll give them the answers that they look for, and they look at me and say, well, I'm not talking to you, I'm actually talking to the boss. And they point to my husband. And my husband looks and said, well, I can try and help you, but I'm not the one who makes the final decisions. And I choose to challenge every day because honestly, those are my favorite parts, when people underestimate just because I'm a woman and they don't realize the credentials that I have and actually the power I am able to share with my husband in a company. And thanks to my husband who, helps with that feistiness and just goes with it and proves them wrong all the time when they ask him questions. If you're asking the wrong person, just because I'm a guy does not mean I call the shots. Let's be honest here. And he says that both on a business and a personal level. And for what that's worth, challenging that every single day is my little defeat, like my little celebrations. Because like I said, if I can change one person's mind, and don't get me wrong, I get this on both from a male and a female aspect from time to time, but if I can change someone's train of thought of how they should look at me and how I should be approached and what I do actually bring to this company, then I change one person's opinion, and that hopefully will stop with me and someone else will not have those comments said to them. So.
Well, and that one person will lead to the change that Gail's talking about, where the next generation don't even bat an eye. So
absolutely, and
that's a good battle.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I enjoy it. I think it's great. I'm feisty for it. So hey, have that conversation with me and keep supporting. So
thank you. Awesome, Erica. Laura, same question. Can you think of a situation where you chose to challenge?
I'll tell you a quick personal story. So as you mentioned, my two little guys have cystic fibrosis. They were diagnosed on newborn screening. And so when Gavin was 2 months old and Hunter was almost 2, he had a couple of weeks till his birthday, I was doing some reading around CF and I discovered this medication, Kalydeco, which was said to be the standard of care by the American Pediatric Society. Like every child with their type of cystic fibrosis should be on this medication. And I should say they have a very rare form of cystic fibrosis, and which is fortunately kind of more mild than the more common form. And then further reading, I've discovered there was a study going on this medication on their specific kind of cystic fibrosis on children 6 months to 2 years of age. And there was it was a worldwide study. One location was in Toronto and then other locations in the States and elsewhere. So I called our cystic fibrosis clinic at Sick Kids and said, hey, like, what's this medication and why have I not heard of it? And why are my boys not on it? And our nurse practitioner there said, well, their specific mutation is not approved for this medication in Canada. It has not been approved for them. And then I said, all right, well, what about this study then? Can I get them into this study? And she said, well, we contact people who are going to be suitable for the study. So we haven't contacted you. So no, you wouldn't be suitable. So of course I didn't stop there. So I went and got figured out who the study lead was for sick kids in Toronto. And I contacted him and again said, can I get what's with this study? Can I get my kids into it? And he again said, no, your kids, they have their gene. It has not been approved for them in Canada. We're very sorry, but we can't get you into this study. And so, as you can imagine, that's about the worst feeling in the entire world, to know that your children have a medical condition that's potentially life-shortening, that's going to cause progressive damage over time. And there is a medication that can help them, and yet you don't have access to it. Now, miraculously, very fortunately for us, there was this study. And so I thought, well, what's stopping me from trying to get them into this study in the States, for example? And so this was like a Friday, again, 2 weeks before Hunter's second birthday. And so I called frantically, trying to figure out who the study lead was in Chicago. I eventually got a hold of her, and she said, well, let me talk with the drug company. She eventually got back to me and said, you know what, we don't think there's a problem. We think you can get you into it because you're being from Canada is not a problem. But we usually get people into the study at least a month ahead, if not a couple months ahead of their second birthday. So we will likely be able to get Gavin in at 6 months, but not Hunter. And as you can, just to give you a quick idea of the study, they wanted 70 people worldwide. This problem is so rare, and they had 30. So for them to get another 2 participants for the drug company was a big deal. And so I said, no, if you want one of my children for this study, you have to take both of them. I'm not going to put one of my children on a life-changing medication and not the other one. And she said, okay, let me talk to the drug company and get back to you. And then, eventually at 4 o'clock on that Friday, she called and said, if you can be here on Monday, we'll get you into the study. So off we go with our 2-month-old and our almost 2-year-old that Monday, and then the next week later, and then 2 weeks later, and 2 weeks later. And then gradually the visits kind of lengthened out. And then we did the same thing with Gavin. So it was a lot. I share that story because I chose to challenge. But again, I hate telling it, and it breaks my heart because there are so many parents out there who have that gut-wrenching feeling and who live with that feeling every day, that there are medications out there who can help their children and they don't have access to them, and they just don't happen. There doesn't happen to be a study that would, help their children. So, for me, the fight continues. Mike and I continue to fundraise for Cystic Fibrosis Canada and, write letters to government officials. And fortunately, there is a medication that's coming down the pipelines for the most common form of CF, which will, again, be life-changing for these children. And hopefully it will be approved soon. So.
Well, that story gave me goosebumps. So nothing like a mother on a mission.
Exactly.
Yeah. Thank you, Laura. So Ozma, you're our last answer for the day. So can you tell us about a situation when you chose to challenge?
Yeah, so I choose to challenge just about every day. Maybe what would be better, I was thinking about this question, is to share a little bit about how I challenge. So in one area in particular, bias, stereotype, and racism. This is a personal commitment that I've made, that when I see it, I need to call it. And so I've made that personal commitment to myself, that if it smells like racism, if it looks like bias, if it is stereotyping, for my own self, I need to be able to deal with that in the moment. So I've spent a lot of time really thinking and rehearsing my responses. And I've grown much more confident in it. There is something to be said when you look somebody in the eye and you say, that comment really made me uncomfortable, and I'd like to explain to you why. And finding that way to do it with love, kindness, but firmness. I find a lot of it is ignorance in our communities. Some of it is outright blatant racism, and these people need to be challenged. So my hope is that by modeling this, that others will pick that challenge up. It is not easy. People who are in positions of power, who are bullying, who have been taught this way for a long time, feel this sort of authority at times that they can say and make hurtful comments to others. And I think if we can all make those kinds of commitments, I think we could make our community a much warmer, more welcoming and inclusive community. We still have a lot of racism in our community to deal with. And if we're not going to challenge it, then quite frankly, who will? And I've never felt scared after I've done it. I've been very nervous doing it, particularly depending on who is doing it. But afterwards, there's a really good feeling that comes from it. And I've never had any further outcome from it. But I think it does make a difference.
I think you mentioned something really important of being prepared with what you plan on saying. I think that's huge because it can be very uncomfortable in the moment. And if you feel put on the spot as well and aren't able to articulate properly what you're trying to say, it can be more difficult. But I think that's huge to be prepared and sort of practice how you're going to approach it. Thank you, Ozma. Okay, that wraps up our questions for the panel today. And I just want to thank all of the women today for their insightful and candid answers. I had a really great time. It's always a pleasure with you. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Jasmine, Gail, Erica, Ozma, and Dr. Laura Stone. That was great. I had goosebumps on and off throughout all of that, and you were very inspiring. And I know personally you've affirmed a lot of things that I experience in my life, career, personal life, and I've definitely learned some things, so thank you. So we're going to continue on with our morning schedule. It is afternoon now, and we are going to further celebrate women in business by honoring one of our peers with the Athena Leadership Award. So I would like to invite the 2020 recipient, Lana Fergamini, to say a few words about what this honor has meant to her. So Lana, I'll let you take it away.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. And for those of you that don't know me, my name is Lene Fragamini, and I'm an advanced planner with Arthur Funeral Home, Barton and Kitely Chapel. I have to laugh as I say it, Gabrielle, because part of my speech that I sort of put together was the laugh that we've had over all the virtual platforms about my name.
I remember it being special, and I looked it up last night and before, and I'm like, I know it's something I'm not going to guess. So thank you. I apologize.
No, it's okay. So it's been actually a common conversation, and every phone call, every virtual thing that I've been on, we've gotten into it. That seems to be the first 5 or 10 minutes. We laugh because yes, my name is hyphenated. It is pronounced Lene. It's not Hawaiian, it's Swedish. And I always joke that it rhymes with Renee, but it's L's and A's, not R's and E's. So it's been kind of an ongoing thing here. And so I just, I can't help but laugh at what this year's brought to my name and the conversations around it. With winning the Athena, it was an honor, and no sooner did I receive the award and we're on a global pandemic lockdown. And I talked a lot about over the year about how that vulnerable feeling with being locked down and not having control over what was happening around myself and the people around us. In saying that, when it first happened, I spent a great deal of time thinking about, some of the negative aspects and what was happening around us, how it was impacting the economy, equality, family, education, people's physical and mental health. And I'm sure the list, we could go on for many of you. You could add all kinds of aspects to that. I remembered for me, I had a trigger where there was a day that I realized that I could, maintain dwelling in all those aspects of it, or starting to the building blocks to make the change, to create positive steps and move forward with what was going to be needed to help recover from the losses and working within the constraints that were finally being put on us. For myself personally, with my career, it's a sensitive topic, working with funeral home. I do advanced planning. So, making the change and how could we still maintain the sensitivity about what people wanted to talk about, but be able to do it in a different aspect. So lots of WebEx meetings, updates, courses, trying to find some balance and tackling a little bit at a time as you're going through. So you're planning virtual events. There was virtual advanced planning, virtual family visits. and I sit back into it and have to find a gratitude in, if all of this had happened 30 years ago, where would we be? We wouldn't have the options that technology gave us now to move forward. Although, you know, missing all that personal connection, the virtual connection was something that we needed to be grateful for. So where distance was that hurdle, we didn't make it a roadblock for us. I'm a little older, so it was some of the technology was a little difficult for me to navigate, and still is on the daily. I know I have to reach out to some of the younger, fresh eyes and staff that I work with, and they've been really helpful in doing that. In talking about the Athena, the quote, "What is honored in culture will be cultivated there." And I just think, you know, just sit on that for a minute and just think about, you know, what is honored in culture will be cultivated there. And with that Plato quote as a guiding principle, Martha Mayhood Mertz founded Athena International in 1982, honoring all the women leaders and bringing balance to the leadership voices worldwide. The leadership model was formed, and the 8 principles were living authentically, learning consistently, advocating fiercely, acting courageously, fostering collaboration, building relationships, giving back, and to celebrate. And when you look at these 8 principles and the model that Athena stands for, and being able to use those to help to rise above the challenge that we've been presented with over the last year. So you're thinking about how so many people have been affected by it, both positively and negatively over the year, and you celebrate their strengths and try and put together a call to action to help people to move forward. So in difficult times, it's a great opportunity for personal growth and looking for the positive in the changes that we faced. Taking the opportunity to learn new skills in the quiet moments, take time to grow, read, meditate, breathe, exercise, whatever your passions are, but try something that challenges you. Do something that scares you and challenge you in a way that makes you maybe a little bit uncomfortable, but being able to do that and celebrate the success of the women around you as well. The resources that we have today brought so much clarity to others in different ways by making distance seem a little closer. We had all of us being allowed to grow and be creative, educating yourselves on how we could help serve the people around us, empowering others to do the same, and reaching out as a community to work together and grow. Seeing women all over our community rise up as leaders in all fields of essential work. They were coming back out of retirement to assist, creating distanced activities to help the days not seem so long, with egg hunts, light tours, door drops, to name a few of the things that started to happen around our community. The creativity was phenomenal. The virtual fundraising, the virtual visiting, schooling virtually, virtual retail, the small entrepreneurs using social media to sell their wares and educate creatively, making sure that the community knew what we had to offer locally. The communication with the neighbors to check in on where they were and what was happening was phenomenal. And it was amazing to just see the community out, back to basics, out cycling, walking, skiing, snowshoeing. It was just nice to see them sort of pull away because the virtual world became a harsh reality all day long. So people were getting out and enjoying our community, what was around them, by working within the constraints that were there. So I ask you all, what's your positive takeaway from the year? What things can you be grateful for? What building blocks can you help put into place? Or where can you lean on the phenomenal women and entrepreneurs throughout our community to help recover and renew some of the areas in our lives, in our business, in the economy that need to be refreshed? We're all in it together. And if everyone does a little bit, we're all regrouped and can work together. So it's really difficult for all of us to honor ourselves in a time when you see others struggle. But as women, we need to, again, fill our oxygen, put our masks on first, and rejuvenate, make sure that we're good for ourselves so that we can be great for the people around us. So taking a little self-care through it will help us be phenomenal in everything that we need to do. So I celebrate all of you. The panel today was fantastic, and thank you to those and for sharing. There was some great stories and personal stories that were shared there. And for myself personally, I was honored to receive the award, and I celebrate the new winner that will have it this year. So thanks again, and congrats to all.
Thank you, Lene. I will not forget that. Thank you for correcting me. So I'm going to take a few minutes now to review the nomination and judging process for the Athena Award. Nominations for the Athena Leadership Award were open to the public, and nominees were contacted to confirm if they wish to let their nomination stand. All final nomination packages were submitted to an independent judging panel drawn from previous Athena recipients. These members form a group of individuals with exceptional integrity and business experience across a variety of sectors and were required to sign a confidentiality agreement as well as declare any conflicts of interest. Submissions are assessed through a numeric scoring process and measured on the nominee's ability to demonstrate their qualifications against the award criteria. The recipient is determined by the nominee receiving the highest combined average of judge scores. This year, the judging committee tasked with determining the recipient of the Athena Leadership Award consisted of the following chamber volunteers and past award recipients: Lene Fregamini, Karen Bird, Monica Dale, Linda Ryan, Susan Milne, Donna Hilsinger, and Chair Debbie Amoroso. We'd like to thank the judging committee for volunteering their time and for ensuring proper processes were followed. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now going to present the Athena Award. Recognizing someone in our community for their achievements is most certainly a great way to highlight today's event. So at this time, I'm going to call on Carolyn Hepburn, Dean of Indigenous Studies and Academic Upgrading at Sault College, who is the sponsor of the Athena Leadership Award, to say a few words about this honor.
Ani Wache Sego, greetings everybody out there in internet land. The Athena Award was inspired by the goddess of Greek mythology, known for her strength, courage, wisdom, and enlightenment. The award is unique in both scope, local, national, and international, and is presented to a woman or man who is honored for professional excellence, community service, and for actively assisting women in their attainment of professional excellence and leadership skills. This year, the Chamber of Commerce received 7 nominations for this award. All nominees are very talented, deserving women. All are true examples of the professional excellence, community service, and tremendous leadership skills, and all are deserving of their nominations. Today's Athena recipient has been described as always engaging and encouraging, and not hesitant to praise others for their good work and achievements. As someone who leads with integrity and honesty, as someone who communicates in a way that makes you feel included and valued, a skill many work a lifetime to develop, yet she does all with ease. In addition to her professional role, this year's Athena Leadership Award recipient is engaged in the community as a member of the newly formed Mental Health Working Group HEARTS, the Council of Ontario Universities Government Relations Committee, and the Universities Canada Education Committee, the Future Sault Ste. Marie Community Development Mayor's Roundtable, the Sault Ste. Marie Innovation Center's Board of Directors, the Northern Policy Institute's Board of Directors, the Sault Ste. Marie Economic Development Corporation Board of Directors, the Sault Ste. Marie Services Planning Committee focused on shift training with the goal to provide cultural sensitivity training to over 250 police personnel, and the local Sault Ste. Marie Immigration Partnership Table and Racial Harmony and Social Equity Committee. She has been a member of the board of directors and past president of the Lake Superior Figure Skating Club and has worked with Skate on Canada on leading athlete development in Algoma in Northern Ontario. In 2016, she was vice chair of the Council of Chairs of Ontario Universities. I'm certain that many of you have already deduced who our recipient is, but it is my pleasure to announce that the recipient of this year's Sault Ste. Marie Chamber of Commerce Athena Leadership Award, sponsored by Sault College, is Ozma Vesna. Ozma is president and vice chancellor of Algoma University. Congratulations, Ozma. In her time at Algoma University, Ozma has taken a leadership role to advance action and commitment within the university and wider community to truth and reconciliation, as well as equity, diversity, and inclusion, and to advance a comprehensive community-based strategy to deal with mental health and addictions, one that focuses on prevention and intervention. More recently, she has helped guide Algoma University through the pandemic, helping students and staff transition to remote learning and working with community partners to build out state-of-the-art e-learning platforms which will serve the university, not just during this time of COVID, but into future as enrollment continues to grow locally. Dr. Paulette Steeves tells us that in her position as an assistant professor of history and a nominee for the Canada Research Chair Tier 2 in Healing and Reconciliation, she has come to know Ozma as an outstanding supporter of healing and reconciliation at a local, provincial, and national level. She describes Ozma as a strong and committed leader who is focused on supporting the special mission of Algoma University in healing and reconciliation. Quote, "In the time I have known Ozma, she has created safe spaces, bringing together Indigenous scholars, elders, and educators to build capacity and create new cultural training programs for instructional and community members of Sault Ste. Marie. Ozma has focused on equality and diversity and in building a campus where all members of society may see themselves represented in professional positions. Under Ozma's guidance and leadership, Algoma University has created very strong programs where reconciliation moves beyond discussions into realities of permanent visual memorials of history, creating pathways to acknowledging the past and working towards healing and reconciliation." Paulette continues, "Ozma's excellence in leadership moves beyond the campus and is woven through the community in many ways. She is a rare individual who creates opportunities for women in all areas of academia, research, and leadership in the arts, business, and science. She is a visionary who has successfully created a strong program of growth and capacity building at Algoma University, and she is a dedicated leader within academia and the community. Ozma has been recognized for her work in many areas. Among her additional recognitions, she is the recipient of the Chamber of Commerce President's Award, the Sault Ste. Marie Innovation Center Women in Leadership Award, the Canadian Education Association Ken Spencer Award, the Tourism Sault Ste. Marie Tourism Ambassador Award, the Reader's Digest National Leadership in Education Award, in recognition of teachers who make an extraordinary contribution to Canadian society through the work with students in classrooms and schools across the country, and the Centre for Addiction and Mental Health Community Achievement Award, Timmins, Ontario. On behalf of Sault College, it gives me great pleasure to present Ozma with this year's Athena Award. Miigwech.
Oh, for the first time, I'm actually speechless. Give me a minute. Carolyn and I spent probably 4 or 5 days together 2 summers ago. And we had some pretty deep and honest conversations, didn't we, Carolyn? As we were really talking about how to move forward as university and college systems in our commitments to the calls to action. And that was a very humbling experience. And people like Carolyn were really challenging us as university presidents, and we were in a very uncomfortable position. It was a very tough conversation, but your courage and your bravery is something I remember, and I think the world of you. So for you to have been the person means a lot. So interestingly enough, I got a call from our communications person just saying, "Have you done a few notes up just in case you're the winner today?" And I said, "Oh no." I said, if they would have, you know, if I was going to be the winner, I would probably have been told. But yeah, I'll have something that I'll say if that happens. But I really didn't think it was going to happen. because there are so many incredible women in our community. And, you know, I've watched the nominees and those that have received this award in the past. I'm just in awe, in absolute awe of these women. And to join them today is just such an honor. Those that know me know that I have a hard time accepting awards like this, because I know and believe that leaders are not successful alone, right? They have incredible people around them. And so it's hard to accept an award that acknowledges one person's leadership. My success really is attributed to so many people. And for that, I'm grateful. So one of the things that I thought about if I were to win this award is the importance of making further commitments. My commitment to you today is to continue as a leader, to continue to challenge, to continue developing, learning, and aspiring to be a leader who really embraces those 8 attributes. They're important attributes, and they're what keep, they're what make successful women leaders just a little bit different than others. That whole piece around authenticity to self, you can't underestimate how important that is. The importance we put on relationships, on giving back to the community, on working together collaboratively with very diverse teams, diverse ways of thinking, courage, lifelong commitment to learning, advocacy. And in the Athena Award and those attributes, it talks about fierce advocacy, celebration, and joy. I will continue to work very hard to exhibit those attributes moving forward. I want to acknowledge all of the nominees that are with us today. You're all incredible women, and it's an honor to share this moment with you. I want to acknowledge Lana, someone who has and continues to inspire in our community. Huge thank you to Sault College for your continued sponsorship of this award. I want to thank Rory and the board of directors for the leadership and the commitment. These are some of my favorite events. The fact that you champion women in this community, it speaks volumes to the chamber and your belief in our leadership in our community. I know for the selection committee, these are never easy decisions that you're making. Thank you for your belief in me. I really do appreciate it. I want to also just take an opportunity to acknowledge the incredible women leaders at Algoma University. We're celebrating them this afternoon, actually I think right after this event. Many of you are here today, and those that are not here are preparing for the event at the university. You're an incredible team. I feel so fortunate to work with each and every one of you. I want to acknowledge the leaders and mentors around me who are traveling this journey alongside me. Leadership, as I mentioned before, is not an individual journey. And while sometimes the president of an organization or the CEO is the face, there are many leaders that make these things happen. So I accept this award in acknowledgement of each of your contributions and know you are part of the reason I am accepting the award today. Lastly, I want to acknowledge the women that have come before me and some of the women that are in my own life. just give me one more second. I'm so sorry. But who we are as women, we're shaped and influenced from the time we're born. And I've had incredible women in my life. Oh my goodness. My great-grandparents, my great-grandmothers, my grandmother, a very special woman, my mother, and another group of incredible women who took me under their wing. And they're the grandmothers of the children of Shinwalk. I really apologize because I did not expect this. I probably should have emotionally prepared a little bit more. But the reason I acknowledge them is because I'm so grateful, right, to have had them in my life and to have had our paths cross. And I am a better person for each of those experiences that I've shared with them, for the coaching, the mentoring, the guidance, the toughness, for challenging, right, us to think differently as women leaders. And I owe them so much gratitude. And I guess I would, in closing, just ask each of you to think about those women in your life that are helping you. And today, to spend a little bit of time just acknowledging your gratitude. Because this is not easy work. And there's a lot of help out there for us if we want to choose to challenge. And for me, I've been very fortunate to have many in my life. So again, thank you so much, Miigwech, merci. Really, really quite honored by this award, and I think I better just end there. But thank you so much.
Congratulations, Ozma, and thank you for your commitment to education, our community, our Indigenous heritage, and continuing your work with Truth and Reconciliation. It's a well-deserved award, and we encourage you to keep challenging and championing on. In addition to the award, which you will get in your possession at some point in time, we're happy to also present you with a complimentary business portrait session courtesy of Anna Peltier at Peltier-Doval at Cavanna Fine Photography. Those will connect with you to be able to give you both of those. So at this point, I'm going to call on our president of the chamber, Michael Stone, for closing remarks.
All right, thank you very much. And wow, it's tough groups to follow between the panel and Ozma's speech there. Nothing much I'm going to be able to say is going to be able to top any of that. But again, congratulations, Ozma, incredibly well deserved. You are such an ambassador to our city. We are lucky to have you. And also congratulations again to all the nominees. This year, we received a great number of nominations for the Athena Award, a testament to the caliber of leadership in our community, which was clearly on display today. To our current and past nominees, there's great pride to be found in receiving a nomination. And although you may not have been the recipient this year, you can be nominated again in years to come. So I know there's definitely some people that are going to continue to do amazing things, and we have not heard the last of them, that's for sure. To those who have nominated, thank you. Please continue to recognize those who have made an impact in our community, who strive to achieve their goals and who mentor and lead our future. It is one of the greatest gifts you can give to someone. So please don't be shy to resubmit and nominate again next year. Ozma, you are now part, as you mentioned, of an elite group of local Athena Leadership Award recipients, including Diane Marshall, Rosemary O'Connor, Carmela Novello, Candy Mitchell, Ella Jean Richter, Antoinette Blunt, Mary Ellen Zakowski, Jody Rebick DeCherbo, Catherine McCrae, Marnie Stone, Mary Pascuzzi, Donna Kinnunen, Donna Hilsinger, Debbie Amoroso, Doris Ann Ray, Susan Milne, Linda Ryan, Monica Dale, Karen Bird, and Lene Fragomeni. an incredible list, and now we will be adding your name to that. The McKinsey report called Women in the Workplace 2020, completed in partnership with Lean In last year, found that in the last 5 years, we've seen more women rise to top levels of companies. An increasing number of companies are seeing the value of having more women in leadership, and they are proving that they can make progress on gender diversity. The job's not done yet, though. This is an important step in the right direction, though. Still, women continue to be underrepresented at every level. To change the numbers, companies need to focus where the real problem is. We often talk about the glass ceiling that prevents women from reaching senior leadership positions. In reality, the biggest obstacle that women face is much earlier in the pipeline, and the first step in climbing the leadership ladder is the step up to manager. If that first step of the ladder is not embraced by the leadership team in the organization, that rung is broken, making getting to the top of the ladder next to impossible. Fixing this broken rung is the key to achieving parity. The culture of work is equally important. All employees should feel respected and that they have an equal opportunity to grow and advance. Employees care deeply about opportunity and fairness, not only for themselves, but for everyone. They want the system to be fair. Done right, efforts to hire and promoting more diverse candidates while creating a strong culture will help reinforce each other. A more diverse workforce will naturally lead to a more inclusive culture. And when a company's culture feels fair and inclusive, women and underrepresented groups are happier and more likely to thrive. And then the business will thrive as well. By fostering diversity, building a culture of opportunity and fairness, and focusing their attention on the broken rung, companies can close their gender gaps and make progress on the road to equality. We hope that by featuring women leadership in our community through this event, celebrating their contributions through the Athena Leadership Award, your Chamber of Commerce can be a catalyst for change in our community. This event wouldn't be possible without the partnerships of many. On behalf of the Chamber, we'd like to extend a special thank you to our panelists, Erica Hogan, Gail O'Connor, Dr. Laura Stone, and Asma Vesna, for opening up, sharing their life experience, knowledge, and wisdom, of which clearly there was a lot. We would also like to thank Jasmine for the excellent job she did in moderating this event, and Gabrielle as well for being our MC today. A sincere thank you to this year's Women in Business sponsor, TD Bank, a group that I'm also proud to say that I work for. And obviously we have a lot of extremely important women from TD on the call today, which essentially led me to realize that they're essentially running all aspects of TD Bank in the community. So good for them. Special thank you to Sault College of Applied Arts and Technology for their generous sponsorship of the Athena Leadership Award and for presenting it here today. This marks the 13th year that Sault College has partnered with the Chamber in sponsoring the Athena Leadership Award. So thank you for your continued support. I'd also like to thank Bell Canada, the Ontario Lottery and Gaming Corporation, the YMCA, and the Canadian Associate of Petroleum Producers. Thank you as well to Cabana Fine Photography. Anna has kindly been supporting this event for many years with her prize contributions. Every professional should have a top-notch business portrait. So if you're needing one, give Anna a call and she'll help set you up. We want to thank the businesses who have provided us with today's door prize and the gift bags you will all receive. The SK Group, YMCA, Expedia, Demansky Office Interiors, Compass Imaging, Hogan's Homestead, Ermitinger Historic Site, Northwood Funeral Home, Plan A Algoma, Quattro, Amore, Sweet Change, Stone's Office Supply. A lot of stones here today, I noticed. The Machine Shop, Lips Etc. by Michelle, and Kemp World Travel. Thank you all. Now a special door prize from Cabana Fine Photography again. A draw for a business headshot will be selected by our random name selector. So whoever's in charge of that.
Our winner is Jane Amalo. Congratulations. We'll be in touch with you, Jane, for you to be able to receive your prize.
Okay, thank you all once again for taking the time out of your busy schedules to join us in celebrating women in business. We hope to see you all in the community, hopefully in person in the coming months, maybe not for a little while, but I'm confident we will get there and it'll be great to see some people in person. Thank you, and please continue to do your part to help us create that gender equal world that we're all looking for. Thank you very much, and choose to challenge. Take care.